Okay.
So if you would like to unshare your screen now so we can share the next one, that would be fantastic. Our next one is school-wide positive behavior support, Tier 1 implementation effects on school climate of 30 Greek primary schools. This presentation is going to be done by Theodoros Gautas. And again, if I pronounce your name wrong, my apologies. So I see your PowerPoint is shared and you are welcome to get started.
Okay, thank you very much for having our team here in your conference. It's a great pleasure to be part of this excellent community. So my name is Theodor Goutas, and I'm a PhD from Aristotle University of Thessaloniki from Greece. And I'm going to present to you the SWPBS, School-Wide Positive Behavior Support, Tier 1 Implementation Effects on School Climate of 30 Greek Primary Schools. Okay. So school climate is considered a construct of critical importance, and it has increasingly recognized as a school improvement strategy. So research findings show that a positive school climate is linked with improved academic results and social and emotional outcomes for both students and teachers. So if you have never heard before about school-wide positive behavior and support, this is an evidence-based 3-tier school-wide framework that is trying to prevent and treat challenging behavior in schools. Is it okay? Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So this kind of intervention program improves the overall school climate. Our project is part of an Erasmus Plus Key Action 3 project, which is funded by the European Commission. Its name is Building School-Wide Inclusive, Positive and Equitable Learning Environments Through a Systems Change Approach. So what we actually did, we implemented Tier 1 of SWPBS for the academic year of 2020-2021. And we were 4 countries implementing the project, Cyprus, Finland, Greece, and Romania. And 120 schools participated in the project. This project was implemented for the first time in Greece. So SWPBS Tier 1 procedures were implemented for the first time in Greek primary schools. Before the Tier 1 implementation, we had 3 external coaches that were trained by experts in SWPBS procedures from Jyväskylä University from Finland and the Cadet Institute from Cyprus, while the overall supervision of our training was done by Dr. Tim Lewis from the University of Missouri and the Center of SWPBS. So after the external coaches were trained, they informed the school principals, who actually supported the teaching staff and communicated with leadership teams. In each school, one leadership team was formed that actually communicated with us, the external coaches, and had the overall supervision of the school teaching staff. Now, teachers from each schools formulated the school vision and values, and actually taught their students at least 3 expected social behaviors. Of course, while the implementation of the Tier 1 SWPBS program, they provided positive verbal feedback and tokens to students, and also collected and analyzed data on social behavior of their students. Now, the aim of the study was to examine the effects of the intervention Tier 1 procedures on the school climate of these 30 Greek primary schools. And we had 15 schools that constituted the intervention group, and 15 schools for the control group. As you can see from our table, we had in total 472 educators taking part in the intervention, and 3,816 students. Now, the hypotheses of the study were that there are no significant differences in school climate before the intervention between the two groups, but there are significant differences in school climate after the intervention. And we also hypothesized that there's a positive school climate effect on the SWPBS intervention in the experimental group. And there's a significant interaction of time and group for school climate. We used the revised school level environment questionnaire, which has a 5-point Likert scale comprising of 21 items. This instrument has 5 dimensions, which is collaboration, decision-making, instructional innovation, student relations, and school resources. Now, the research sample consists of 265 teachers, 131 from the intervention group, and 134 from the control group. We ran 2 measures, one in October 2020 and one in June 2021. And we run a confirmatory factor analysis for our instrument. And we also ran independent 2-sample t-tests, paired sample t-tests, and 2-way analysis of variances with 2 repeated measures. Now, when it comes to our results, we have goodness of fit indices that indicate that the factor structure fit the data reasonably well. And we used the Omega index, McDonald's Omega index, that shows that the instrument has a good reliability. Now, when it comes to group differences before and after the intervention, as you can see from this table, we found no significant differences before the intervention, but we did find a significant difference after the intervention on school climate. When it comes to group differences before and after the intervention, as you can see the dimensions of the scale, we didn't find significant differences on student relations, school resources, and the overall school climate before the intervention, but we did find some differences in collaboration and decision-making. Now, after the intervention, we found significant differences on the overall school climate, on collaboration, decision-making, instructional innovation, and student relations, but not on school resources. And we're going to discuss this finding afterwards. When it comes to intervention effects on experimental group, we found significant effect of the intervention on almost every dimension of school climate and the overall school climate, except decision-making. And on the control group, as you can see, we found no significant effects except of school resources. When it comes to interactions, we found a significant interaction between the 2 factors, time, which is the intervention itself, and group. Now, if we want to sum up our findings, there's a difference in favor of the experimental group following the intervention. And we also found a positive effect of the intervention in the experimental group. Also, an interaction of the factors, as we said, is observed. In other words, the difference in favor of the experimental group can be attributed to the intervention itself. Now, this is a drawing from a school. Of course, it's all Greek to you, but it says the vision of the school is that I feel safe in a school where I can be respected and I respect everyone. So how do we interpret the increased teacher collaboration, which is in agreement with previous findings? Well, first of all, teachers effectively manage their classrooms. We had the leadership teams that were formatted and they collaborated with the other teaching staff. And all teachers taught social behaviors. And it seems that teacher trainings had a significant impact on their collaboration. And this finding seems to be independent of the cultural context and characteristics of the Greek educational system, which is in agreement with previous findings. Now, the improved student relationships is in agreement with previous findings as well. And that's probably because students and teachers worked on defining the school vision, defining the values, and linking the values with behaviors, and teachers also motivated students with rewards. And the effect was that we had positive teacher-student and student-to-student interactions. Furthermore, it seems that rewarding students caused a positive behavior reinforcement, and students increased their respect for teachers and their participation in the educational process overall. Now you can see the website that we set to support the schools. It's a multilingual website that you can visit, pbiseurope.org. And the finding that supports our research is that we actually measured improved school resources, which is in agreement with previous findings. And that's because probably teachers utilized the resources and materials we provided to them. They had access to training material. And something else that we found is that teachers used their own resources because this year, as all over the globe, we had the emergency remote teaching, and most of the teachers had to teach from distance. They had to use their own equipment to provide the education to children. We also found improved teaching innovation, which is in agreement with previous findings, because teachers had to apply innovative ideas for teaching social behaviors, and they had the chance to differentiate from the analytical curriculum, and they showed positive disposition to adopt innovative teaching approaches. Now, furthermore, the decision-making, as we said, did not improve, something which is not consistent with previous findings. And that's probably because the teachers answered for low participation in decision-making. That's probably because the emergency remote teaching and restrictions of face-to-face school operation due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And probably because the intervention didn't last that long. It was a short period, and it had to adapt to the emergency remote teaching conditions. Furthermore, we think that Greek teachers in primary school are not keen or not accustomed to systematically collect, analyze, and make decisions on data related to student behavior. And that's something that seems to agree with findings from a similar research in the Netherlands. And it may be attributed as well to the high degree of centralization of the Greek educational system. Now, this research has some limitations. First of all, it was implemented during the pandemic, which is a limitation by itself because of the adverse school operating conditions. As we said, the duration of the intervention was only one academic year, and we are unable to generalize our findings. This was a quasi-experimental design, and we chose that because we didn't want to disrupt schools' operation. And of course, one further limitation is the absence of a follow-up measurement that could probably give us some clue about the maintenance of the intervention effect. Despite the limitations, we believe that our research has some impact, some contribution, because it was the first time that SWPBS was implemented in Greek primary schools, in a great number of primary schools. And it also highlights the value of implementing prevention intervention programs. And after all, school climate, as we discussed, improved. Of course, the intervention can be extended to 2 or 3 academic years so that it can be consistent with findings from other research. And it can be extended to Tier 2 and Tier 3. or even to middle schools, schools in remote areas, or special education schools as well. And further research may investigate students' perceptions of school climate, or even the principal's role in SWPBS implementation procedures. Thank you very much. Feel free to ask me anything you want.